Sprite Castle. Sprite Castle. Sprite Castle.
Mr. Rob O'Hara.
Sprite Castle.
All right, everybody, welcome to Sprite Castle, the show in which we played a new game. I'm Rob, Flack, Ohara, and today we're coming to you live from BOATFEST 2025. The only retro computer gathering where you can come hear the smartest guy in the state here talk about CPM, followed up by a guy talking about the Smurfs. So a big wide range of topics here to cover at BOATFEST. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the Smurfs. It's going to be a fun journey for everybody. So who knows where it's going to go here. So we will start off very briefly. This is a man who goes by the name Peyo. This is the man who invented Smurfs all the way back in 1958. The legendary story is that one day he was sitting having dinner and asked for someone to pass the salt, but he could not remember what the name of salt was. And so he made up a funny name, which was Strumpf. And so he was actually Belgium, and so Strumpf is the actual where he got the name for Smurf. So really two takeaways from this slide. Number one, this is the guy that invented Smurfs. And number two, he once forgot the name of what salt was. So this is an example of the Smurfs comic book. So he did comic strips for a long time. Again, they were in Belgium for many decades before they made it across here to the United States. So they were popular in Belgium, but not many other places. But of course, eventually they reached here. I think most of us were probably exposed to the Smurfs through their Saturday morning cartoon show. That's where I first found out about the Smurfs. And that's when the Smurfs became a worldwide hit, and everybody in the world loved the Smurfs except two young men. Those young men went by the names Pyromaniac and Wolverine. Those two young men got together and created a game for the Commodore 64 called The Great Smurf Massacre. Now, two things before we proceed. Number one, if anybody is queasy, is offended by the possible torturing or murdering of Smurfs, now's your time to step away. And it's not for the faint of heart. And number two, AI refuses to write the word Smurf on a slide. I tried many times to get this to spell the word Smurf, but as you will see, it just keeps misspelling Smurf over and over. It has some aversion to writing the word Smurf, so I'm not really sure what that's all about. Some sort of agreement there between the Smurfs and AI. So the Great Smurf Massacre, as you might imagine, was not a licensed title. It was a game that was, it says here that it was imagined by Wolverine and programmed by Pyromaniac. There is obviously Pyromaniac was not really into user interfaces because he wrote all this stuff in gray on gray, so it's pretty tough to read, but in this section, he explains how he wrote it in BASIC and then compiled it in BASIC, and if you call either of these BBSs on here, that he will give you the source code. I have called these phone numbers and they don't know anything about the Great Smurf Massacre, so don't call these people. Down here at the bottom it says coming soon, this B25 game. I have scoured the internet and that game does not seem to exist. So I think the Pyromaniac was a one and done when it came to Commodore 64 game development. Now, this is the title screen of the game. This is also the menu screen to the game. You will see that there are two options up here. You can basically commit mass Smurf genocide, or you can torture Smurfette. So those are your two options. By the way, everything in this game leads to a dead end. There is no returning to the menu. So if you want to try something else, you just have to reload the game and start all over. There was Pyromaniac, not the best game programmer I've ever seen on the Commodore 64. Now, even though they are listed in this order, we're going to start with the bottom one here, which was the second game, which is Torture Smurfette. So, and again, this is a game that you could not buy. Somehow these kids made this game, uploaded it to a BBS, it got passed around, and literally millions of Commodore 64 owners ended up with a copy of this. Everybody knows about the Great Smurf Massacre, which is kind of impressive for a game that was never actually sold. In this exciting scene, you can see that there are 5 different ways that you can torture Smurfette, and you torture her by holding down number 1 through number 5 on the keyboard. So as long as you hold that number down, Smurfette goes to that area and is tortured, but when you let it off, she returns back apparently unharmed. So no harm, no foul to Smurfette here. The first way you could torture Smurfette is to put her in a can of worms. I actually researched this. I could not find anything that is canon that says Smurfs do not like worms, so I don't know why putting her in the can of worms. This is probably the least damage that you can do to Smurfette. Again, hold down the button, Smurfette goes into the can of worms and wiggles around, and then you let off the button and she returns back unharmed. The second way that you can torture her is to burn her at the stake. Now, I didn't find anything on this, obviously, also, but that I would imagine would actually hurt a Smurf. Again, many different ways. You can put her in the pot of cauldron of boiling oil. That's one option there for Smurfette. I mean, Pyromaniac had some issues, I think. I mean, no one came after him looking for to hire him for his programming services. We're going to skip the 4th torture temporarily and jump over to the 5th. The 5th is to put Smurfette in the electric chair. So you can put her in there, hold down the button, and she kind of wiggles back and forth as you shock her. Now, the 4th torture is this gentleman named Commie Bob. I don't know who Commie Bob is, and we actually cannot discuss what Commie Bob does to Smurfette, but I will tell you that Commie Bob is a very disturbed and lonely man. So if you put Smurfette in there, it's not good things. So if you want to try the other part of the game, you can basically turn the game off and reload it. Go back to the menu. There is no escaping out of the torture section to get back to the menu. So this is reloading the game, and we will go back into the second part of the game, which is labeled as G.I. Joe 2, Smurf Massacres. And you can see over here, I don't know if you can see this, but it says Pyromaniac was here, so he put his name on everything. There's a lot going on this screen here. So in the actual game, the Smurfs are just scattering randomly back and forth over here. Over here is G.I. Joe, and this is your weapon arsenal, which you can use to attack the Smurfs. Now, there is something odd over here. If you can see right above G.I. Joe, there's a gigantic beer can, and so I don't know what has happened, but G.I. Joe has been scaled down to also be the same scale as the Smurfs. Those are actually mushrooms over there, so I don't know why G.I. Joe is as small as the Smurfs, but that seems to be what has happened here. So the way this, if you call it a game, the way this game works is that 7 Smurfs come out. Now, if you know anything about the Commodore 64, you know you had 8 hardware sprites. Obviously, what he's done is you have 7 sprites here for Smurfs and 1 sprite over here for G.I. Joe. You have 4 weapons that you could choose. The first is a machine gun, which is probably the easiest to use. Now, it's not great. It does not go diagonal, so you can move 4 directions, but you can't go diagonal, which, by the way, the Smurfs just mostly run diagonal, so it's easier to kind of put the target here and just wait for them to cross your path. That's kind of an easy way to get them. Number 2 is the rocket launcher. The rocket launcher is almost impossible to use because when it fires, it goes way up in the screen. The Smurfs start running like twice and 3 times as fast, and then it comes down and explodes. So if a Smurf happens to be where that explosion is, you get one. There's a lot of Smurfs that you have to go through to get to the end of this game, so that's a long way to get there. You also have number 3, which is a tank, and you could drive a tank out, which then also works like the machine gun, so that's kind of a 1-2 option. And then number 4 over there is a atomic bomb, which destroys all Smurfs and takes you right to the end of the game. So if you decide you don't want to take the Smurfs out one by one, that's an easy way to jump to the end of the game. Now, I have played to the end of this game. The Smurfs come out in waves of 7. There are 14 waves, which is we'll talk about these numbers in just a minute because there's something about that number that actually bothers me. But you can play all the way through the game. Again, 7 Smurfs per layer and 14 different levels of Smurfs. Now this is the end screen that you get. You could get to this screen by shooting 98 Smurfs or by using the atomic bomb to blow up all the Smurfs. It says, "Congratulations, Mr. Phelps." I suspect Wolverine's last name was Phelps. I don't know, but that would be my guess. And then you get this little message here. So, by the way, when you get this message, if you want to do anything else, you have to turn the game off and reload it to get back to the menu screen. Now here's my problem. Here's one of the, I hate to say singular problem with this game. There are many problems with this game, but one problem that I have with this game is that, again, there are 14 waves of Smurfs, 7 Smurfs per level, which gives us a total of 98 Smurfs. Now, for those of you that grew up in the 80s, know that in Season 1, Episode 9 of the Smurfs, there was 100 Smurfs. There was the 100 Smurf. This is a very specific episode because actually there was a curse that was going to fall on the Smurfs. The only way Papa Smurf could take the curse off the Smurfs was to do the dance of 100 Smurfs. They counted them all, and there were only 98 Smurfs. So, or 99 Smurfs, and they had to get another Smurf. It's you can watch it. It's on YouTube. So, but we do know that canon, there were 100 Smurfs. But then I got to thinking, Smurfette is in the other part of the game where you torture her, and the Smurfs that come out are all blue and white. There is no Papa Smurf. So if you take Smurfette out and you take Papa Smurf out, then that is 98 Smurfs. So now I think this game is canon. I think this maybe actually, I think he might have put more work into it than I actually gave him credit for. I was very upset for years when there were only 98 Smurfs, but now if I ever run into the Pyromaniac, I will issue him an apology. I think he might have been one ahead of me on that. So the big question that I like to do at the end of the episode is I look up reviews of games, and then I let people know if it's something that I think they should play. So I went to Moby Games. Moby Games does not have an entry for this because Moby Games only has officially released programs. I don't believe this is listed on Lemon 64 as an official title. So it is on CSDB, the Commodore C database, but you know, all the major players, there is no listing for this game. Again, it was just something that got passed around for years. So really the question is, do I recommend that you try this out? And no, this game is absolutely terrible. And really everything there is to see in the game, you have basically just seen. So I wanted to pick something to talk about at BOATFEST that I probably wouldn't do normally on the show. And the one thing as a kid and even now that really fascinated me is, you know, in today's world with the internet, you could post something up and then, you know, it could go global in minutes, right? But for these two kids to come up with this goofy game and upload it to some BBS and then have it get passed around, to where literally hundreds of thousands, if not more people, know about it today. It's kind of an interesting little story. So, don't recommend this one. So, anyway, this is all the stuff about Sprite Castle. I know you guys all already know who I am, and I did want to say here at the end, I appreciate everybody who has come up and said that they listened to the 100th episode. I started Sprite Castle before the Amigos, right? I think, yeah.
I don't know where I'm at.
We're at, and so I just did my 100th episode, and they just celebrated their 500th. So I'm not quite as consistent as the Amigos are, but it took us 11 years to get to 100 episodes, and so we'll be going to another. Yes.
Last year's presentation, at the very end, you told us it was all a joke. The second you started talking about this game, I went and checked because I don't trust you anymore. And the first hit on Google is a long play video by a guy by the name of Rob Ohara. So I'm curious how you feel, let's say conservatively, being the top hit on this game for probably the rest of your life and beyond.
It's an honor. Really, you got to think if now there are 3 names associated with this game: Pyromaniac, Wolverine, and my name. That would have to be. I would like to, if there was any way to track these guys down and talk to them. I think that would be interesting. But I didn't realize that was the top hit. That's really I want to get. My goal now is to get the top 10 hits. From different things, so are there any other questions? Could there be questions about the Great Smurf Massacre? All right, well, by the way, this is another AI. I went to ChatGPT and said make an end screen, and we got Papa Smurf in all white and for some reason, topless Smurfette. I don't know why it did that. So there you go. There's AI for you. So anyway, there you go.